You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the June 12th meeting for the Michigan City Board of Cemetery Trustees. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Gavel's up. I'm going to call to order the Cemetery Board of Trustees meeting on Thursday, June 12, 2025 at Swan Lake Memorial Gardens. Roxanne?
Davis Bush.
Present.
Bernadette Denke. Present. Renee Bauer.
Present.
Stephen Janis.
Here.
Vera Gaston.
Here.
Kat Houchins. Here. Okay. We have quorum.
Excellent. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Our motion in a second.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of May 8th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any negatives? Motion carries. We'll move immediately on to a finance report from our good friends at Bryson.
Thank you, sir. Beginning as we always do with a look at the summary page. Beginning with respect to that page, with a review of the material relating to the permanent screening account. The account is up to 0.26% per month and 1.34% year to date. As account is the permanent maintenance Swan Lake account. That account was up 0.28% for the month and 1.38% year to date. With regard to the extension fund account, that account was up 0.27% for the month and 1.30% year to date. And then finally, with regard to the merchandise and commissions fund account, the account was up 0.30% per month and up 0.30% year to date. Turning to page 2, taking a look at the account details with respect to the permanent maintenance Greenwood account. The money market is yielding 4.19%, which is down from last month's yield of 4.23%. The mutual funds overall yield is at 3.67%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.61%. And the overall yield in the account is at 3.84%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.81%. Turning to page 3, permanent maintenance Swan Lake account. Mutual funds overall yield is at 3.68%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.64%. The overall yield in the account is at 4.05%, which is up from last month's yield of 4.03%. On page 4, examining the extension fund. Mutual funds overall yield is at 3.74%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.69%. And the overall yield in the account is 3.89%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.87%. And then the last account, merchandise fund account, mutual funds overall yield is at 3.74%, which is up from last month's yield of 3.70%. And the overall yield in the account is at 4.08%, which is down from last month's yield of 4.10%. As you have probably noticed, my comrade at arms, Brad, is unable to be with me today. He has prepared some remarks with regard to the overall market performance. I'll read those to you. If you have questions you'd like to pose with respect to these comments, you may email myself or Brad, and I'll make sure that he responds. And his notes read as follows. Second quarter economic data still looks okay, but we should start to see some effects from the tariff policies introduced by the Trump administration next quarter. The latest jobless claims number was 247,000. We will not be concerned unless and until we get to a jobless claim number of 260,000. Mortgage applications, construction spending, vehicle sales were all down in May, so there are some cracks in the economy that are starting to appear. Tariff negotiations are ongoing with China, and we have heard some positive comments on progress made in that regard recently. We've also heard of progress on talks with India and the European Union as well. President Trump's big, beautiful tax bill recently passed the House of Representatives and has moved on to the Senate, where we expect some changes to be made, including some of the health care and energy provisions of the original bill, along with SALT deduction issues. Inflation has not increased notably with the job market still stable, and so the Fed is in no rush to make any interest rate cuts presently. The market is expecting 1 to 2 rate cuts this year, but looks like the first one may not be made until September or October. Interest rates on CDs and U.S. Treasuries continue to hover around the 4% mark around the yield curve. Bottom line, the tariff negotiations and the progress of the tax bill continue to impact financial markets.
Okay, we need to get a motion and a second accepting the financial report as presented.
I make a motion to accept the financial report.
The thing.
The thing.
I second that.
We'll vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any negatives? Excellent. This motion carries. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you next month.
Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you all for that.
Before you have a list of the payment register, and we need to review that, and we will vote on it as presented. There's no disagreements or questions.
What was the flying high for?
We replaced all the flags at both cemeteries.
Did you happen to approach any of the, like the American Legion or anything, or the?
I should say that we don't replace all of them. Most the legions all have responsible for a certain section of
Okay.
Wood and then the veteran circle out here.
Okay.
But we're still responsible for the American flags on the big poles, so 162 is for the American flag.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because sometimes they donate flags, yeah.
Smith Furniture.
That's for the payments on the votive base stand that we have.
Oh, okay.
And then Scotty's Dynamic Designs, that's for that too?
Scotty's is for, we had a mouse chewed through the cover that goes over our ash burial stand that we put out next to the ash burial. So they actually, Palmer Upholstery actually constructed a whole new cover for us, very cheap, and it's vinyl, it's a lot more sturdy.
Okay.
But Scotty's actually embroidered it, so now it says Greenwood Cemetery. It's really
Oh,
nice.
nice.
And is Gardner's Greenhouse responsible for the beautiful flowers outside?
Yes.
Beautiful.
And Jeff.
Looks good.
Give some water. He gave some water.
It's nice.
Where is that, Varners? Is it in Michigan City or?
It's in Niles, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
It's nice.
Any more comments? Then we'll need a motion and a second to accept the cemetery payment register as presented.
I'll make the motion to accept the cemetery payment register as presented.
I'll second that.
You're gonna give it to Steve?
I'll give it to Steve, I'll pass it over to you.
To it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll vote, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any negatives? Motion carries. Move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, start out with the stats from last month. In May, we had at Greenwood 4 ash, 1 full, and 1 and 2 minutes for a total of 6. Swan Lake, we had no ash, 7 full burials, 2 and 2 minutes for a total of 9 for a grand total of 15. And then this is how we look month to month. And then this is our year-to-year totals. I went through and added year-to-year for the year ending, for the first part of the year ending May 31st. We had 99 burials or interments last year, and this year we're at 74, so we're down about 25%. So, but again, we only have 1 year of stats to compare it to, so I don't know if last year was an anomaly or if we're on a downward trend, maybe because of pricing, our price increases, or we'll have to see how it shakes out with another year under us. So. First item I had here was Memorial Day service. I don't know if anybody actually got a chance to go out to the Memorial Day service this year, but it was really nice. Former state senator Jim Arnold was a guest speaker, and he was very he praised our department very highly for the way we've been maintaining Greenwood and Swan Lake Cemetery. So it's a very nice ceremony. At the end of their ceremony, they also had an additional ceremony to dedicate the veterans markers that the wall gang and the Guardian Riders raised the money for. We have quite a few of those installed already, and we're hoping to get those done here within the next month. There was close to 70 of them, so it was a huge project. And again, we thank the Guardian Riders and the wall gang for taking on that fundraiser. I finally have all the estimates for the Serenity well repair, and again, just to refresh everybody's memory, this is the pump house out by the Serenity Mausoleum. We're hoping to get it running again so that we can use the water to not only maintain the building out there, but also test for the water leak that we have in the big glass wall rear of the building. So, and our plan here again is to demolish. As you see, since our last meeting, another tree has fallen out the building here. But we want to clear this all up, demolish the building, and then we're going to replace, there's 2 tanks in there. We're going to replace these 2 tanks with just 1 tank that is weatherproof. And we're not going to reconstruct another shed out there. What we're going to do is we're going to drain that tank before winter hits, so they don't have to worry about anything freezing, because we don't want to have to heat this one. So there's 2 components to this this project. The first one would be the well contractor, and then there's rewiring that has to be done because the electric panel that's in there now has to be replaced with a weatherproof weather panel. So I obtained 2 quotes from 2 different well companies. Clearwater Well came in at $6,350. And Oliver Well came in at $3,250. They had different ways that they were going to do it. The Oliver Well is a more kind of a cost-efficient way of doing it. Clearwater was going to install an in-water tank. However, Oliver Well convinced me that that's probably not the way to go, because then we still have to worry about switches and things going bad in the ground. So. Everything's going to be above ground. We'll also have to drain it. So my recommendation would be for the board to approve the quote from Oliver Well for $3,250. I don't know if you want to vote on both these separately or together. I think we should probably do it separately.
Okay. I make a motion, we accept the quote of $3,250 from Oliver Well for the Serenity Pump House.
I have a question, is there a warranty, and what is the warranty for Oliver Well?
I do not have that actual contact.
Okay,
But
so after,
I know they were both kind of similar.
okay.
Need a motion and second to accept Oliver Well for Serenity Pump House well quote.
I made a motion.
Yeah.
He seconded it.
Who seconded?
He did, Davis did, didn't you?
Oh, I thought he said I could.
Oh, no. I thought he said he seconded it.
Now we'll vote. All in favor of accepting Oliver Well?
Aye.
Any negatives? Very good. This portion of the motion is passed. Move on to Serenity Pump House electric.
So for the electric portion of this project, I obtained a quote from PG Electric for $2,388.69. And the second quote was from Circuit Solutions, and that was for $1,362. My recommendation would be to go with the lowest bid, $1,362.
Where are they located?
I believe they were out of South Bend, I believe.
Have you had experience with them?
No, I
Was there any reviews on them online? We never heard of them.
So the way I found out, because we've had a really hard time getting electric contractors, so that's why all of the work we had done last year was by PG Electric, because I couldn't get any other local contractors to come out. Circuit Solutions was recommended by another contractor I had contacted. They came highly recommended. But as you can see, there's quite a bit of cost savings here.
Yeah, there
This is a pretty small project compared to what we normally, the stuff we've contracted in the past. So my recommendation would be that we go with them and see how they do.
And they have the warranty on their work too?
I believe they all offer some type of warranty, but again, this is all stuff that's going to be exposed to the weather, and we're going to have to do our due diligence every fall to make sure we drain everything, because if something freezes out there, it breaks, it's on us.
So your recommendation is Circuit?
Yes.
I make a motion, we accept the electric quote from Circuit Solutions for $1,362 for the Serenity pumps.
Second.
We can vote. All in favor of accepting Circuit for the electric quote for the Serenity Pump House?
Aye.
Any negatives? Motion carries.
And then our ongoing project here at Swan Lake, the remodeling of the exterior of the building. About half the windows have been replaced so far. We still have the large panel of glass here in the chapel portion here that has to be replaced yet. So hopefully they'll have that done soon, because once they get that done, we want to get the building painted as soon as possible, because we have new wood siding on the outside. We want to get coated as soon as possible before it starts to deteriorate. So I obtained quotes for the painting of the exterior of Swan Lake. The first quote is from Neat Mark Painting. That's the contractor that had done all of our interior work. That was for $3,945. And I obtained a second quote from EJ4 Painting, and they came in at $4,350. My recommendation would be to go with the lowest bid of Neat Mark Painting for $3,945.
You had a good experience.
Yes, he's done a good job for us.
You're happy.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we accept the bid from Neat Mark Painting for $3,945.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of accepting Neat Mark Painting for Swan Lake exterior building, $3,945, and all in favor?
Aye.
Any negatives? This motion carries.
Next item I had here is, we came up, we haven't implemented this yet, and this is pretty much just for informational purposes, but since I started here last year, apparently this has been going on for a while now. When a funeral home calls in to schedule a funeral, it's all done on phone. So sometimes things don't always get translated properly, or there's no documentation of what actually was scheduled. So I came up with a new procedure that we're going to implement to schedule funerals from now on. And it's so that we have everything documented, so there's no confusion as to, as if somebody asks for a chapel service, we want to make sure we have that ready. So I came up with a form. And this form will be given to all of our local funeral homes. Whenever they want to schedule a funeral, they'll fill out this form. They're going to email it to us. Right now, it'll be to 3 separate emails, Roxanne, Denise, and myself. However, when the city has their new website up and running, we're all going to have new emails. And when that happens, we're going to have one generic one also that they'll be able to email this to, so they won't have to email it to 3 different people. We'll just email it to whatever that generic one is they're coming up with. So, and pretty much this just documents which cemetery they want, and it's all, they can tab through this, so it's really easy to fill out. It doesn't show up, all the check boxes aren't showing up on the screen here, but there are check boxes. So it's something that's really easy for them to fill out. They'll fill it out, they'll email it to the 3 of us. When we confirm that we have the space that they want, the time that they want, then we'll sign it and we'll email it back to them, so there's documentation that they know exactly what was approved. Because we've had a couple instances recently where, let's say, they want a chapel service, well, they don't tell us, so we assume that it's a graveside service, and they show up at the chapel, and now we have to scramble to get all the equipment out to the chapel first. So this will solve that. The other issue we had was occasionally we would have funeral homes call in. Well, this would happen most of the time. They would call in and say, hey, we have a funeral at 11 o'clock. Not can we have a funeral at 11 o'clock? So we ended up with, just recently, we had 3 funerals scheduled within 2 hours of each other, just here at Swan Lake. So we had to make some adjustments. We got it accomplished, but it's something, we want to spread these funerals out. We can do 3 funerals a day, but they just need to be spread out more, because it takes about 2 hours for them to prepare a grave. So, but we think this should eliminate most, if not all, of our problems. So this was just an informational item, just so.
Will that, a hard copy be kept in
Yes.
the office?
Yes.
Have the funeral homes, are they aware this is coming?
They will be. We're going to contact them by phone before we send this out, so that they're not confused why they're getting this. So.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Can the family still request a specific spot within a ground burial spot?
Yes.
Yes, and that's another reason we're doing this, because we've had some recent occasions where the funeral home will pick the spot for the family, and then the family gets out here and they're not happy where the spot was picked, so then we have to change the location.
And they have the option, actually, when they call the funeral home, to come out here physically if they want to.
Yeah, we really encourage the family to come out here to view the plot first, so they don't end up in a situation where they find out the day of the funeral that that's not where they want the grave. So,
As long as they're notified of having the option, that's a good thing.
And who escorts the family?
so if the family comes in here to the office, Roxanne will show them a couple different options, and then she'll call one of the grounds crew up here, and then they'll take them out there and show them exactly where it's at. Next item I had was Greenwood Mausoleum rules. With the construction of our new votive base stand that's taking place right now, once we get that installed, we want to implement these new rules. So I believe Roxanne has passed out a copy of the rules, and it's probably going to be about another month before they get this constructed. So if you would like to take this with you and then read it over, if you have any suggestions, you can bring it back to the next meeting and we'll do it at that time. And then the last thing I had on here, actually, I skipped one of my slides here. I'll make sure we get these guys here. Going back to the Memorial Day service, I just want to give some recognition to our seasonal staff over at Greenwood Cemetery. We were really fortunate this year. We got a really good crew. We have some of our regulars here, John and Paul. They always do an excellent job. Randy does an excellent job. We've hired Anthony, and then there's one person that wasn't in this picture, Tom. He came to us from Pine Lake Cemetery this year. But normally it would take us 5 to 6 weeks to get from one end of Greenwood to the other, doing all the trimming, mowing. They're down to 3 weeks. They're really fast, but they're also doing a really nice job. So I just wanted to give all these guys credit because they've been out there. I told them they didn't have to, but they still went out and worked in the rain. They were out there cutting in the pouring rain, making sure we had everything ready to go. So hopefully we're fortunate enough to get all these guys back next year.
So what's their name?
We got Anthony, is it Coleman?
Anthony Coleman.
Anthony
yes,
Coleman.
Randy Block.
Randy Block.
John Johnson.
John Johnson.
And
Paul Jackson. Yes.
Randy Block.
And then, so we also bought them all T-shirts this year, just
Oh, yeah, it looks nice.
so
What's his name?
Jeff's.
Jackson.
Yes.
I have Randy. John Johnson.
Yes.
And Paul Johnson.
How are they able to just work seasonally? Are they really retired, or just, do you have any idea?
No, I don't think any of these are retired. Randy worked with us full-time one time, right?
Maybe they
No,
have
yeah,
other
he-
jobs in the winter? Or?
I know Paul does. Paul has another job. I'm not sure how
I mean,
these
it's
guys.
great that you can find good people who are well just work. How many months is seasonal?
We're hoping to keep them through mid-November so we can get the leaves done.
Oh, well, that's really good. You start when?
Maybe
Like May, end of May, 1st of April. I think it was the 1st of May this year. So, yeah. And then we also have one other seasonal, Isabella, who was our intern last year.
She's seasonal this
We've
year.
hired her back as a seasonal this year, and she's doing nothing but inputting grave information into our new software system. And then Tristan left for the day, but we have an actual intern through the mayor's internship program, Tristan, who comes to us from Ivy Tech, and he's doing it about 30 hours a week.
30 hours, they can do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we also have Kathy, who came through us through the Vantage Aging Program, whose services are no cost to us. It's a federal grant that I guess is available. So we have 3 people working on this, so I'm hoping we make some good progress. So. And then finally, I don't believe all of the board members got this. The mayor sent out, and this is an opportunity to participate in a community grant. The mayor's charitable gala that she had earlier this year raised enough money that she was able to give every city board and commission $3,000 as part of a grant. And this really is more on the board and not the cemetery, because she has the rules and everything in here for it. So it's pretty much an opportunity for the board to come together and come up with some way to spend the $3,000 that benefits the community. So again, you can either choose to provide a scholarship for Michigan City residents, or number 2, organize a neighborhood cleanup engagement event. And that mobilizes volunteers, encourages civic pride. Or our third option is to execute a neighborhood beautification or public art project. And I believe all this has to be accomplished by May of next year, so you got time to do it. So I can actually forward this, and this is the requirements, the additional requirements. But I can forward this to all the board members, so maybe before the next meeting, if everybody wants to come up with an idea, maybe to submit, and the board can all agree on something.
Is the cemetery considered public space?
Yes, it's public property, yes. Again, we have a lot of projects that we still have to undertake, but they're all going to cost more than $3,000. Some of them can be broken down. One of them we were eventually thinking to do a fundraiser for, and I'm not sure how much it would cost yet, but all of our gardens out here have statues, and they're all, as I presented last year when I reviewed the entire cemetery, each one of those statues is deteriorating. It needs mortar, tuck pointing work. So that could be one option where we choose one of the monuments to hire a contractor to refurbish. But again, that's completely up to you.
Or the entrance at Greenwood, is that all intact now? Because I know there was some.
No, there's a whole section up there that I guess years ago was struck, and rather than replacing the wall, they just took that portion of the wall away. So there's like about a 5 or 6 foot wide section of that entrance wall that needs to be replaced.
So that could be used for that too, if we choose. Okay.
So that's all I had on my.
All right. We'll take this under advisement. We just reviewed. A lot of thinking about there.
And you said you'll email us,
Yes.
so we can think about that.
Great. That's all of the superintendent's report. Any new business beyond that? Okay, any public comment? I keep looking for somebody.
I do have a question. The veterans markers, is there a reason why they're on concrete at Greenwood and on granite here?
That was I think because at Greenwood, there's a lot more leeway out here considering we have a flat section. I think they required granite out here just because they didn't want to sinking to the ground's unstable and the concrete is worse, susceptible to cracking. Granite's pretty hard to crack. But when specifically the Guardian Riders, when they raised the money for their portion of this, they were able to raise enough money that we actually have extra markers. So I believe all of the markers that were done as part of this project were installed on granite out there at Greenwood too, even though traditionally they had been on concrete. But I don't know what the reasoning was.
Does the concrete deteriorate?
Yes, and the water level out here, with that, it's going to, like Jeff just said, it's gonna crack.
Like on
We're
an
gonna have
average,
issues,
how long would it last, like at Greenwood?
and we think it's longer than it would out here.
The concrete?
It's hard to say because those bronze markers cover up. It's not like the granite markers out here where the granite is actually wider. So the concrete ones out at Greenwood, you can't really see the concrete because they're completely covered by the bronze plaque. So unless we were actually to remove one of those bronze markers, I'm not sure. It's hard to tell how that granite or how the concrete is holding up. I just know Dave, there's our foreman out there. He likes installing them on granite out there rather than concrete because if they do, for instance, out there, the aisles are so close that when Dave does a burial, a lot of times we have to remove a couple rows of markers to get the back window to install or to dig a new grave. So when he digs that up, he has that occasion sort of that concrete is broken or is already broken around.
So who's responsible?
If it breaks, we
Because you moved it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a big price difference between what was the price difference, between granite and that?
The price wasn't really that big a difference, but they charged so much for shipping this granite to us. What was it, like $120 to ship a piece of it? And the piece of granite cost like $80.
$80.
And the shipping is actually more than the piece of granite. And that's how, when the Guardian Riders decided to do this project, they had former Councilman Chris Schwanke, who now resides out of state but operates a trucking company. He actually donated his services to drive down to Georgia to pick up this load of granite, so there was no shipping charge for us.
I'm just looking for uniformity, between the two cemeteries. If that's something to think about.
I know Dave would be happy because it's a lot easier. Because the concrete, he actually has to, we have a form over there where he pours the concrete into a form.
Okay.
It's a lot easier when we just have the piece of concrete that already has the holes drilled in it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other unfinished business?
The windows at the chapel, so you're still waiting to test that, right? With spraying?
Oh, yes,
That
but now
wall?
that reminds me, I just wanted to, this was, I don't want to make the meeting any longer than it has to, but the stained glass window over at Greenwood, finally got that fixed. I meant to bring that up. So this is what it looked like before, and this was before I started. Apparently a piece of the stained glass fell out, and this is on the front of the Greenwood Mausoleum. So it had been taped up for a couple of years with duct tape. So, and this is the new piece here. So it's not stained glass. We searched high and low for somebody that does stained glass. We can't find anybody that's willing to come out and fix it. So Meyer Glass actually cut 2 pieces of thin glass, colored glass, and I was able to glue it in from the exterior side and the interior side. So if you're looking at it from here, you can't tell it's not a piece of stained glass. It looks like the rest of the glass.
Nice.
So.
Better than duct tape.
Okay, any other comments? Then we'll need a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any negatives? Done. Pass. We're out.